Right. No, I mean every country is different and the size matters. I mean, and also, it's safe to mention that in Portugal, well, it's a small country, and yeah, it's easier to take. But what happens with people, for example, in Portugal, it's legal to take drugs. You can consume them. That's legal. But what happens if you like live on the streets? If you're homeless, are you allowed to, or are you would have to go to a place? What's the procedure then?
Well, I mean, in Portugal, you have a lot of associations and all that kind of stuff that provide some shelter for these guys. There are some people just full on prefer to stay on the streets, But I think that happens. I think a little bit everywhere. Even here in Prague, there's although I don't know if they have a lot of shelters and all that. But in Portugal, you have a lot of shelters, and usually they stay in these shelters and all, and they still consume drugs and all that. The thing is that the consumption, purchase, or possession is not really. It's like the law is like a way more soft in this case.
It's not legal per se, but it's
not legal per se. But but so what they do is like they make recommendations for treatment, although they still have fines and still they have warnings and there are penalties. It's still not really a crime. What is considered a crime is when you start, trafficking and cultivating, illicit substances and all those things, and then you have a whole supply and you selling. That's that's when it starts.
Let's say, Tiago,
you doing it
I'm
personally.
In Porto.
That's
how do you say Porto or Oporto?
I say Porto always, but you say however you prefer.
No, but what
I would say Porto even in English actually, because I think the name in Portuguese sounds kind of weird, honestly.
Okay, but originally, in Portuguese is Oporto.
No, it's Porto. It's Porto.
Oh, it's Porto. Oh, my bad. Okay, so I go to Porto, and I like to make. You guys have in Portugal empanadas, right? Empanadas.
Yeah.
How do you call them?
Empanadas.
As well, okay.
As I say.
So let's say you have empanadas. I'm not sure what's the preferred filling to put in the empanadas in Portugal. But let's say you got some mushrooms, right? Some portobello mushrooms, but the very special ones, right? And you make these empanadas, right? That have these magical mushrooms. It's okay for you to eat them, but you're not able to sell them in the plaza because then you'll be trafficking.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. So the thing is that if you use it's a little bit like in Holland that you can have weed and all those things, but you can sell it, you can smoke it on the street and all those things. You have to do it at your own place or in that. Although we don't have. No, actually, I don't remember if we actually have places for these people are drug addicts to actually do it safely. Where they are provided with new syringes and all those things.
Like they go to a place where they have a seats and they have a laser show where they see, they have like Led Zeppelin in the background while
exactly playing. No, unfortunately they don't have that, but they do at least do that thing.
They try,
giving And just a group of people just enjoying themselves listening Led Zeppelin while high on mushrooms. Yeah, that's something that would be fun.
Those places like Canada or even Portugal, where they have like these very progressive places where they're like, oh no, we give them the syringes, we give them everything. I imagine like even like a section for the psychedelic guys where they're like just watching like videos of like the stars and shit. And they justify with like tax dollars. It's like, nah, yeah, they're being taken care of. I remember in Miami there was a planetarium, and every month they had a laser show, which it wasn't a place like this, but it very much served the purpose for the psychonauts. But anyways, no, I just always thought it was interesting because I always heard growing up like, oh, Portugal, they have this thing different with drugs, and I always wanted to see like how that played out in the future. And statistically, I have seen that, like, for example, in the 90s or early 2000s, there will be a lot more junkies in Portugal, or at least that's what I've heard. So maybe it has helped. Like, it has made it, like, instead of,
Yeah,
and
not
also you
just
don't.
that for HIV infection, for example, because of the used needles, because we had one of the biggest ones, in heroin addiction and also HIV, and then with decriminalization, you can just have easy access to new syringes. We also made it, the HIV infection also dropped a lot in terms of in that regard.
I also think it's good to not mix like those consumers with like the general population of criminals, because I do think it's better to treat them as patients. It just makes more sense, and that doesn't mean they don't have responsibilities. Like with like the homeless, what I think is like if you need help, we can help you, but you also have to put your part. Like I think there's gotta be a give and take, because otherwise, then it's not a fair transaction. Like back in the day, if you couldn't take care of yourself and you were like a drug addict or whatever, you were just left to your own devices to die. So I actually support a
Yeah.
system that helps you, but not that mommies you, sort of like San Francisco and California have done, where like the people in the streets, they're shitting on the streets, they're causing a dangerous situation for the people that live around it, and it's like, and they're also hurting themselves, and we're not helping them. So help also comes, like with mom and your dad. It's like they want to help you if you fuck up, but that also comes with, okay, and you got to do your homework, and you got to do this and do that, because I think it goes hand in hand. Like you get privileges, but you have responsibilities, right? So
But for example, this thing in Portugal only works because I think also because we have the national health, the NHS. Because the thing is, for example, because the idea was we would give them like a kit, which would have like syringes, actual drug
mushrooms, LSD,
paraphernalia, condom,
a
and
few
other
things,
stuff. And although
like
some people
like
might
a
think,
weekend fun pack.
yeah, we can fix, yeah, but and people would think, yeah, well, maybe what you're doing is advocating consumption. But the thing is, the people that are distributing these things are supposed to talk to them to make them, tell them, look, there's other ways we can, you can improve your lives, you can do this, you can do that. But it's that thing, like sometimes you have to know when the battle is lost. Some people just can't live and that life. But if they are going to stay their life, at least do it safely. That's the whole idea. Try to make them come back. To stop doing drugs. But if they're going to continue doing drugs, at least do them safely.
I'm in a dilemma there, because like part of me thinks that yeah, we should give them the things they need to do the drugs, and then if they don't get AIDS or HIV, is better for the system. But at the same time, like I think what you said is important. You go, you give them the things, but you're also there to like intervene and monitor them to try to get them to a better place. Because I also think if you're just giving them shit, even if you're helping them not get an infection or something like that, it's like, do they deserve that type of help? I think they need to also come back and like commit to things, And a good way we talked about this, and there's a book that I'm going to read soon that talks about this, but like some solutions is, you tell the drug addict that's in the street, the person that lives on the street, look, you cannot live on the street. This is illegal, right? So you either come to this center where we'll help you, or you go to jail, right? Okay, so you go to the center. In the center, you have to follow certain rules. And if you continue to follow the rules, instead of living in the common areas where you're sharing a space, right, and there's many beds, you get to have your own room in the center, and you sort of graduate. And you make it an incentives program. At the end of the day, it's all about the incentives. And with a lot of social programs, the incentives are all fucked. But if you frame it in the right way, where, look, every time you improve, we give you more privileges and more help for you to continue to, have privacy, eventually, be independent and shit. And so, yeah, I think that's part of it also, making the drugs legal. I don't know if it's legal or decriminalizing like they do in Portugal, so that It's
Well,
not
I mean, they
something.
decriminalize, but in the sense that basically, if you only have enough, let's say you get stopped by the police and you have, I don't know, one syringe and one dose for you for that day, you
Right.
basically you're not going to be sent to prison. You're going to be sent to like a kind of like a local commission kind of thing that would you would have to talk with a doctor, a lawyer, and a social worker as well. There's the whole thing. But if you actually get caught cultivating and selling, that's still a crime. The thing is just if you're just using like personally used, like just if you don't have on yourself at that point personal use
Like let's
for
say
personal, that's fine.
let's say Chef Maurice, he comes to Europe to visit. When he comes to Europe, it's kind of like a big deal for him. He loves Europe. He trained his culinary arts here in Europe. So when he comes, he wants to party. You look at him. He looks like a good kid. He is, but he does have something inside of him. Kind of like a, maybe from like his, from the Indians in his ethnic background, something, about the indigenous people, the fire inside of him. So we come to Porto, right? And we're going to like the festival, like the Eurovision, but in Port, and they stop us and they open Chef Marie's car, and I'm with them. I mean, I'm only an accomplice because I'm there. It's really, and Chef Maurice has that box that they have in that movie, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, right? So like the whole shebang. It's a weekend pack. It might feel loaded, but for Chef Maurice, it's fine. It's not like the police might think he's gonna sell it, but Chef Maurice is like, no, this is
all for me.
this is yeah.
For us.
This is for me and for the lucky souls that we run along the way.
Exactly, they make friends. Yeah.
Will there be some leniency there?
I don't know. I think it depends on the police officer, and also depends because I don't know if this only applies for Portuguese, the Portuguese population. But I think the idea, if I remember correctly, I think if you don't have anything that's over a 10-day supply, it should be okay.
Okay.
I think it was something. I'm not sure. I'm saying this in why I'm not entirely. I think when I read this a while back, I think it was something like kind of like that.
Well,
Yeah.
one thing we do allow in the podcast is this type of information that, I mean, we don't call it fake news. We just call it like it's not real, and it's fine because that's part of what we're saying. But I like the 10-day specific. Like it's almost like the Portuguese people are like, okay, let's get together. Okay, so 10 days is enough for a party, right? And they're like, yeah, it's enough. Okay, 10 days.
Are they Russian in I don't know. I heard the Russian accent.
No, you know how I am when I do the accent. It's always the Russian accent. So I do apologize, Tiago. I know
It's always the easiest one, I think, to do. I think it's the evil Russian accent.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
To me, it's a perfect one. I either do that one or I go Italian. Hello, I want to go to the Chef Maurizio. Like I go more in the Italian way. But the Portuguese one, it's hard to do. It's hard to do because sorry, and then Tiago's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
It's hard to sell drugs in Portugal.
Yeah. You come here, it's legal up to 10 days consumption. Why do you speak like that? This is Portuguese.
How do they know what a 10-day supply is? Like,
I have no idea. I don't know how that part is. It's out of my scope and out of. I have no idea. Yeah.
It'll be funny, like if this is like judgment of each of the cops. They're like, "What? Let me see what you got." It's like, yeah, that's 10 days. Like they do their own judgment of the thing.
Yeah.
All right, so space, right? I mean, it's a very juicy subject. We talked about it in previous podcasts, but India just arrived, well, not just, but recently arrived to the moon, to the dark side of the moon, which we had not been to yet as humans. So we could say curry has landed in the moon, which is good. I mean, if we're gonna have any culinary there, that's the first one I would like to have. But it's weird, right? Like we had not gone to the moon since we went to the moon, and I say we like I'm fucking part of it. But yeah, I mean humans since Apollo 13 or Apollo 11, which is weird. It's so close, and you would have thought that we were going back. Now India goes back, which I didn't even know they had a space program, which I find is insane. So what's next?
Yeah, I didn't know as well. It was out of nowhere. I was like, what's going on? Why is India going to the moon? I also didn't know. I had no idea they have. I knew the Europe had a space. It has a space agency, yes. But I didn't know India was like actually trying to get to the dark side of the moon.
With 1.4 billion population, you have to think that something good has to come out of that amount of people, right?
At some point.
I mean, they're very techy. They're very techy, and I'll be honest with you. I really thought to myself like, oh fuck, like why would you have been biased about this? But yeah, to me, I had never heard of a space program outside of the U.S., Europe, Russia, and China. So I was not even aware that that we're on that. From what I understand, it wasn't a person that went. Like they did it all through, remote, a rover.
Just a rover.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so they got to this side of the moon that we never get to see. So that's another part that's interesting. I do want to start seeing some like actual movement in the space world, right? Like this whole thing, like we went to the moon a long ass time ago, like 50 years. By now we should have, like each of us should have like a little thing that we just take out and we go like to space, like and come back real quick. Hey, let's meet up here in this constellation and let's do a little races like we're in fucking Tron movie. And no, none of that. We haven't done any of that. We barely have electric cars. So to me, am I right in saying that we're being slacking in the space race? Like, let's get some shit happening.
I think, honestly, I thought about this before, is that although we're still seeing some, advancements in technology, I think we're in the worst possible place to be living in that regard, because I think everything will start happening after we die.
Fuck.
Like
right after
2040, 2050, that's when like the cool shit started happening, virtual reality and all those things. Actually, I think we're more advanced in virtual reality with porn than what you just said in terms of going into space. I can already have I can marry a virtual, girl. That's or whatever, crazy.
Well, I mean, it's insane, but yeah, like porn also drove the internet to like exist. Yeah. So it's crazy, like what drives the human race to improvement is sex and like world domination. Like those are the two things that we go for. Yeah, it's true though. Like you said something. Like I also thought to myself sometimes that I'm like, am I in that specific stage in the timeline where I'm just gonna miss it? Like the day after we die, they're gonna be like, oh, we just got the eternal life pill. You didn't hear about it.
Right after, or right in the next day, that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a pill that you take and it cures everything and you never die. It's actually boring because you will never die. So it's like, he didn't know about it. No, he was gone last week. Oh, fuck. But I mean, it's better than like having lived 300 years ago, right? Getting nailed in the head by a sword.
I think having lived 50 years ago, this is better than 50 years ago, right?
You think? Sometimes I wonder. Because like our grandparents, I mean, yeah, after the war, right after the Second World War, I feel like that was the best stage for like people's growth. Like the U.S. grew, like Venezuela started growing. Like our grandparents and parents, like mainly my parents. Like my parents, I felt they lived in an era where like things were kind of normal, and then now we get handed a thing that's fucked. Like we're never gonna own anything, and we're not gonna get that pill that's gonna be created in 2055 or whatever.
I think honestly, I've been. I was talking with a friend a while back, and I think the best that we just missed it as well was, end of the 80s and 90s. You being alive in your, let's say, your 20s. I think there was a lot of advancement in technology in comparison to what we have today, which we still have a lot of technology advancement. We just don't hear that much about it. But I think in the 90s it was just that, something happened. You were like, oh my God, I can remember when the phone, like the mobile phone first appeared or something, and everyone was like going crazy and all that, But there's still some cool things happening, like Boston Dynamics doing the, the robots. You know, they basically just move like humans and doing like, you know, they're doing flips in the air and going through obstacle courses. I don't know if you saw the videos, but if you see, like, it's really, it's scary stuff.
Yeah,
Like I
scary.
saw I saw the robot doing like a crazy flip, and I'm like, oh fuck, I
It's
can
very
barely get
eerie.
out
I've
of bed.
seen it. It's very eerie because it reminds me of that I, Robot movie with Will Smith, where like the robot moves in a way where like he has his own flow. Like, motherfucker, let me get you real quick. I'll fuck you up, dude. It's scary as fuck, and I don't think it's gonna be as quick and as aggressive as people are thinking, like Terminator with the whole AI and the robots. But I do think there's gonna be some shady shit happening. So maybe we're not missing anything, Tiago. Maybe right after we die, this whole planet explodes.
Yeah, that can happen as well. You know, so you know, maybe the sun can just decide, okay, I'm out, and just goes. You know,
You know what is one thing that
kills
I
everything.
don't know if it's because I'm
Maybe. But
older.
after we die.
I don't know if it's because I'm older, I look at the news more, but do you feel that there's a bunch of natural disasters happening a lot more?
Yeah, I think that's just the nature trying to kill some of us because we're just too much for the planet Earth. It's just trying to take some of us out.
I
To get
really
some
think so,
rest,
bro.
I
Like
think.
every day, like every week, there's like a new thing. And I'm like, fuck, eventually something's gonna happen around where the fuck I live. Like earthquake here, a hurricane there, tornado, sharknado. I'm like, what?
I'm always on the lookout for what's a new thing that's going to happen in the world. Like today it's a fire, tomorrow it's an earthquake. Like I'm always in the lookout of, all right, what's next? Because there's not a day that comes by that you're like, all right, everything's okay in the world today. Never happens. Like something bad is always happening, and it's kind of, it sucks because we're always connected, and then that's how we know. I mean, I'm not saying that in the 70s it wasn't happening. It was probably happening. We just, or our parents just found this out like 3 weeks later. Oh shit! I don't know. Some forest was burning, or some earthquake happened. But now we know right away when this shit is happening, and it just makes you, I don't know, worry and scare all the time. And I live in California, and there hasn't been a big earthquake since the 80s, and every day is like, maybe it's today. And
So
I'm
you're
like,
right.
I
You're
hope
right
not.
on it. You're right on time.
I fucking hope not. And actually, there was a hurricane in the West Coast, so like Southern California, and you can see all those motherfuckers like scared as fuck. And Kiko and I living in Florida before, we know how that shit goes. And when that was happening, I'm like, these people don't know shit. Like they weren't preparing how we prepared in Florida, and it's too much. People are just like constantly knowing and reading, and something bad always happens.
I feel like we're constantly like in one of those very bad movies from the 2000s, like Poseidon or 2012. Like, and it seems funny and it seems like it's surreal, but it's fucking true, bro. Like after the whole pandemic happened, I saw a movie called Contagion, and I'm like, it's literally that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And it's actually a good movie. It's with I can't remember the guy now, but
Lawrence Fishburne, and there's some famous people in that.
yeah,
that
and
movie as well,
I can't remember the English actor. I think it's English. That's really good. Jude Law, I think.
yeah.
No, but that it's what's happening is very eerie, and I always tell, like when I speak to my dad, I'm like, I started being, and this is fucked up, but I started being happy again when I was like, in a little bit like, you fuck the future. Like I'm not saying don't plan to like have things like you still do the planning, but your expectations change a bit. And I feel like my parents, even though they had a harsh life, they lived in a world where you could accomplish things. So you could like work towards something. I'm not trying to be negative because I don't know if like, I'm not saying life sucks, but it is true that now I'm kind of like, let me just enjoy every day, be happy, still plan for the future, but enjoy the moment because crazy shit happens all the time. Economies are like flipping every day. And I do feel like we live in uncertain times, and millennials have been hit with it quite a lot. Like, I think we're all millennials. Back in the day, millennials was like little kids, but now it's us in like early 30s. And you're sort of in that middle point where maybe I should have a little more, but what's the future looking like? I mean, or maybe it's just me. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I stopped listening to the news, honestly. And I think my life is a little bit better because of it. Because it's true. It's, as you said, everything, like, it seems like it's always something new every day. Someone got killed. Someone, there's some natural disaster. There's some fire every single day. And I stopped looking at the news, and I think it's actually better. I think it actually improved.
I had to do the same.
Life.
I had to do the same, like right as like the worst part of COVID happened. That's when I'm like, I have to stop, because all you heard was like, this many people are dying, this many people are getting sick, and I'm like, no, I can't do this shit anymore. It's just too heavy. It's just wearing down on you, and that year sucked for everyone, and it all started with Kobe Bryant, and that made me sad.
well, like, did that happen right before?
Yeah, that was like in January. So that was like, a couple months before the whole COVID.
You think he was patient number one?
Huh. Maybe they needed to get rid of him.
That could be like, Contagion, the movie ends with you finding out who patient number one was, which is very similar to what originally they said would have happened. Like some fish at some restaurant, but it wasn't like a wet market. It was more like a nice fancy restaurant. But yeah, like it could be like he had like a flask in the helicopter that had the thing, and he was gonna take it like like Lord of the Rings, take it to a place to burn it and kill it. And he was gonna because Kobe Bryant, like he was like the hero, but he was gonna like save not only NBA, save the world. And he was gonna throw this flask in this like volcano. And then, the driver or whatever, the pilot had too much.
He failed. The pilot.
He failed. And then that shit spread.
The plan. Yeah.
But no, it does say how quick something can change. Like the world changed for all of us. And
what's a death that would make you sad? Like someone famous that perhaps you looked up to, or what's a one death that you'll be like, damn, this makes me sad? Because Kobe Bryant made a lot of people sad. It made me sad. I never met him, but I was there when
it was a horrible one. It would be like Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. For Tiago, more on his side. But for me, I mean, this is like cliche, but I don't know. It just comes to mind, like Leonardo DiCaprio. Not because I have anything like towards him, which it'll be okay. Like he's.
But you're over 25, so you're out.
Yeah, he wouldn't even look at me.
No.
He'll be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Exactly. No, that's not for you. Yeah.
Old person, but it will shock me. You know what I mean? Because like there's older ones that you like, okay, but like one that's like maybe still ripe. The young ones hurt, right? Like Paul Walker, it hurt people a lot at the moment. Like those young ones out of nowhere are
but I think it's hard to place one single name, because I think for me it's been like hearing these actors that I saw when I was a kid, in the movies. I don't know, like a while back, Ray Liotta, I mean, I was sad because I like the guy. He might have been, I don't know, I have no idea how he was in real life, but he was apparently kind of crazy. I don't know. The way he presented himself, it seemed like kind of crazy. But I was sad, and I think these actors that I grew up with, like Samuel L. Jackson or Keanu Reeves or Harrison Ford, when they die, I think it's going to be weird, to think that Indiana Jones is dead, or that
I think it's a crazy dynamic.
Pulp Fiction, it's that as well. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah,
I think it's hard because even though we were there for some of their peaks, like the peaks in let's say in Samuel L. Jackson. Like we were there, like we saw his movies, and he was very famous. I think it's different because he's much older than us, right? So you think like, all right, he's, let's say, I don't know how old he is, but let's say he's 65. And if he dies, he'll be like, all right, he was 65. He's almost there. He was about to go anyways. And it gives you sadness because you're like, all right, I saw Snakes on the Plane, a very good movie or whatever. But I don't think it hits as hard as someone close to our age.
Yeah, I think the closer your age, especially when you're still
Yes.
young like us and like cute and like pretty and plump like us, like I think it hurts because like it makes it real, because when an artist that big dies, it almost tells you like, yeah, even he can die. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's obvious, right? It should be obvious, but it to me it reminds me like, I mean, there's one. It's not young, but for example, there's this comedian that I really love, Norm Macdonald. He was in SNL, and he died recently. And that one to me hurt surprisingly a lot. Like this, there was a whole thing behind it. Like he recorded a special, but he didn't have time to record it, so he did it like this. Like if we're recording a podcast with a webcam and it's on Netflix. And even if you hear it without like the audience and everything, it's still like, you're like, oh, this is funny, like he's good. But he didn't tell anybody about it because he didn't want to cause any like people like, oh, pity him and shit. And it was just like a little bit of darkness with it. But yeah, if it's a young one, like our age, like an artist our age, it hits a little more. Like there was this guy, an actor, he did Black Panther. I can't remember his name. No,
Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, he's the guy
Chadwick
from.
Boseman? I think that's his name, Chadwick.
Yeah, that one was sad. I mean, I didn't know him much as an actor myself, but it was one of those like around our age, which.
Actually, I mean, it's my personal opinion. I was sad, but not that sad, honestly. Chadwick. I think I would be more for it if it was, now that you mentioned Norm Macdonald, like I was thinking about, Conan O'Brien or Bill Burr. That would make me, that would actually make me feel, actual sad, because, Conan O'Brien and Bill Burr were kind of like part of my life, almost, I would say.
Okay, Tiago, let's say a guy that did a Portuguese superhero.
Never going to happen, I think.
That's funny.
I think someone like, if we stay in the sports, I think someone like LeBron James, if he died, I think I would be sad. Again, it's not like I met him, but it's like, damn, we grew up almost at the same time. You saw his accomplishments. Same with like Messi, same with Ronaldo, same with people that are around our age. I think that's what makes it more hurtful. Because the older ones you're like, all right, they're older, they're gonna go.
I mean, it's relative, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, there are some people that are older, but that like hold a lot of things dear to your heart. Like for example, there's this writer and like economist and thinker. His name is Thomas Sowell, and I love his books. I love the way that he talks about.
Is he 80?
He's like 95.
Okay, he's about to go. Are you gonna?
I'll be honest with you. This was gonna hit me hard. And he's one where like he's lived the fullest life. He's written like 87 books. He's accomplished. But still like, damn, I wish this guy could go forever. I wish we could take the life of like some others and then give him more years.
All right, you have to sacrifice 2 people to save Mr. Soul.
There's a German movie called Paradise on Netflix, which it talks about this like a technology where you could take years from somebody and give them to someone else. And obviously, the rich are the ones that are taking everybody's year. But yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Like which ones hurt? I know people. I could never relate. For example, when Michael Jackson died, like when I was very young and I was seeing the things happening, and I was just like confused. It was like when I realized, I'm like, oh fuck, like I don't understand it yet.
Right, because we didn't live his highest era. Like
Exactly,
we didn't
exactly.
live where he was everywhere, where he was singing everywhere, where he was in like every Pepsi commercial. I think that has to do a lot with, you know, who you want him to go and who you don't want to go.
Like you weren't high on cocaine when Thriller came out.
No, you were probably shedding your diapers when Thriller came out. You know?
This reminds me of that episode we talked about, Chef Maurice, about like kids that have weird wishes, like make a wish wishes of like, oh, I want to meet this guy, whatever, and like why the fuck do they want to meet Michael Jackson? Those kids, like, how the fuck do you know Michael Jackson? Like Dave Chappelle had a joke,
yeah, and I already know what you're going to say.
A Dave Chappelle joke is so good because it's true. It's like they don't know about Thriller. How the fuck are they like wanting to meet Michael Jackson? They were younger than us.
But I think sometimes that's the parents' fault, that they want, they project this kind of stuff a little bit to the kids, and why don't you want to meet Michael Jackson? He's super famous or whatever, and you're the kid like dying. Okay.
You want to meet Clint Eastwood? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Hey, the kid wants to meet Marlon Brando. Like, what? Get the fuck out of here.
But and actually, it's funny. It's also funny that I think he still has it. But I think the person that has the record for most Make-A-Wish wishes is John Cena. Actually. John Cena. It's John Cena. I think it's still him. I think I think a kid is dying and he's there.
Damn, that's gotta
but
be.
You can't see him.
Like, imagine.
But you can't see him.
Oh, because is that a thing that he does? Okay.
Mommy, are you sure he's there?
Am I dying? What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, that's crazy. Like you think of John Cena, which, by the way, there's this movie called Vacation Friends that he's done, which are actually funny, and I always underestimate how funny he could be. He actually seems to be cool.
He's actually I think he's actually a good actor, honestly.
Yeah, he is.
I think he did some shitty movies, yes, but I think he's an actual
he's very
actor.
funny.
And I think I saw that in Peacemaker, I think.
He's very comedially aware of things.
Yeah.
No, what I was gonna say, like, what if, like, you think of him like as a goofy character? At least I do, or like, from like WWE or whatever, and then like later on in life, it's like a Netflix documentary where he talks about all the encounters he had with his dying kids, and it's like a very dark documentary, and he's just sort of like he goes through like different, like I could see that happening on like a sick little documentary.
But he has
Netflix.
to have his WWE clothes while he's talking about. Not the suit or anything. No, he has to be
super serious. Super serious.
Full on gear for WWE.
The background you see out of focus, like the cage, or
and maybe his his entry song, but in a dramatic way. More somber. I think so.
On Instagram, I always see people put like little clips from back when he was in those like wrestling days, and him saying things that today. Like it's crazy to hear it, right? Because you're like, oh fuck, like that couldn't be said today, like like insults and shit. It's super funny to hear it, because even I don't think I'm carried away. I mean, we've all progressed with society, obviously, like in many topics. But I think of myself as somebody like when it goes too far, like I don't go there. But even I get like sort of like, oh fuck, like I hear those clips from back in the day, or movies even, I'm like, oh shit, like it's you
I
feel
just need to hear the stand up as well from a little bit. I remember Bill Burr also. No, I heard the podcast from Bill Burr, and he had Bill Hader as a guest, and he was telling about about Eddie Murphy when he was still doing stand up, and he's saying, when you could still make fun from fat people, and it's true. Like now, everyone has to like apologize for the joke they're saying, and that happened, for example, with Ricky Gervais in his last Netflix special, which is I was super, because his first one was amazing. I was laughing with his with Bruce Jenner, and what's her name now? I forgot her name now. Caitlyn Jenner. Like he had like an amazing beat in that, and in this second one is basically 45 minutes of him explaining what it is to be a comedian, to the audience and apologizing, and then the rest is some jokes in the middle. That's what I felt like in that.
I'm not sure if I heard that one, but that's interesting because it is true
Yeah,
that
it's
he's normally straight to the.
Yeah, I don't know why. In that one, he just wasn't good. Like the first one, I think it's Humanity. That's the first. That one is amazing. That was really funny. And he just, really good. And then the second one, which I don't remember the name of the second special he made for Netflix. I couldn't. I was like, when is this thing going to end? He's not making any jokes. He's just explaining what he's doing. And I know what you're doing. I just came here for jokes and nothing more.
Yeah, I find it that like today, like even us, right? Like we do the podcast and sometimes we go into dark like comedy and shit. And it is true that like even if you think of like, I'm kidding. It's like, to me, that almost kills the whole thing. Like you should be smart enough to get what's happening, or at least know the comedian you're listening to. So that was interesting. Like, for example, I noticed that with like Chris Rock's not the recent one, which was actually impressively good. The one where he talks about the slap, and he did it live.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, it's actually good, and I almost feel like he reverts because he had a previous one called The Tambourine. I don't know if Chef Maurice, I don't know if you're a fan of stand-up. He's probably like, I have never seen any of these. But there's a Chris Rock one called The Tambourine, which was very like, I don't know, like just singing to the choir, like just preaching to the choir, like being very safe about things. And then on this last one, have you heard Jimmy Carr?
I saw him live. Yeah.
You saw him live. He's a savage.
Yeah, he's a savage. Yeah, he doesn't care. He does not care in his live shows. No.
I love that
he's
comedy.
Really
it's because my favorite one is Louis C.K., who also shoots down those lines. I saw him live in Madrid. I think he goes to Portugal when he comes too. But many like Nordic countries. He's big here now. A lot of comedians are playing in Europe now, which is good to see.
I saw Bill Burr like a few days ago, actually.
Really?
As well. Yeah, it was amazing. It was really good. Yeah,
that was his Make-A-Wish.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say that was your Make-A-Wish. Before you die, you want. It's a bad joke. Sorry. I'm not good. I'm not good at making jokes.
But I think it's good for us to actually not make fun, but making jokes, because I think joking is the best way to handle stuff, And for example, and now it's going to be a little downer, but it's happened a long time ago, right? But my father died, like 10 years ago or something, and sometimes like I make fun of it, and people don't know how to to reply to what I'm saying when I make a joke that but my dad is dead, or my dad is dead, or that, or something, and they get like, what do I do now? And but I think for me, for example, me personally, I think it's good because it happened, and I miss him, but it's still like sometimes just a good thing to kind of take the negative energy out, as well. Laughing.
I almost think it's a
what
problem.
They say, laughing is the best medicine or something.
I almost think I have a problem that I don't find a situation where I don't see fit to be funny about something. And like, because I find that being funny or just like laughing about something, at least to me, I'm not saying you cannot have bad intentions with that, but like the type of person I am, if you're a good, normal, decent person, to me, it's almost like a thing where you're being mischievous when you're laughing at something you shouldn't. And to me, that's just like, it's almost like cute. Like, it's like, like life is so horrible. Yeah, we should be laughing at shit. Like, I'm the type of person that like, I see myself like cracking a joke at a funeral, like between some of us and like, oh, he smells or something. Like some shit, like just like what's going to happen? Like, it's not going to make it worse. You know what I mean? And I find myself being just wanting to be funny, even in situations where some people might think it's not. But I think it fits. It helps to cope with shit. I know Mauricio sees it this way, but like in Venezuela, and this can come from many different experiences in life. But so much shit has happened to that country that people there just laugh at things where it's almost like they see it as a negative thing. Like, hey, you shouldn't be laughing at everything. Like, you should take shit seriously and like see how we can improve. And it's like, nah, we don't, like it's all fucked. Like, let's just make fun of it. So I do like I am a person. I support comedy like strongly. Like, I haven't found comedy that would offend me, but even if it did, I'm like, yeah, you should be able to do it. And then the people that like you, you know, that's it. Like, that's how it should be. Like, if you're coming from the point of, I'm trying to make you laugh, okay, that's it. Like, it's easy to know when somebody's saying something for real, like you're like in a podium, like, I want this type of people to not be, like, that's one thing. And then you're like in a comedy setting where like everything goes. You're just trying to like, you know, me and Mauricio, like the reason why we do this podcast and we enjoy it is because a lot of times we're just trying to crack the other one and like you say some horrible shit so the other one, like, you know what I mean? And like that's part, like that's how I grew up with my friends doing those. And it is true. I mean, I'm not gonna go full hard on the podcast, like, you know, you might do with your friends at night at 3 a.m. drinking beers, but you want to make it real, like it's for real, like what you're feeling. Of
course.
You know.
Hi.
You are the best with the transitions. So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know what I'm transitioning
to a beautiful lady, I think.
Yeah. That's not, I mean, yeah, I guess. What's your make-a-wish before, you know, your last, who do you want to meet? Let's put it like this. You're about to die. You want to meet a famous person. Who are you meeting?
John Cena, but
you can't see him. Again, it's,
well,
Kiko,
I
get
think
on the level.
if I'm about to die, I think I'm going to say, I was going to say either Conan O'Brien or Monica Bellucci. I don't know which one. I don't know if I want to laugh or if I want to see something, you know, beautiful. I'm going for Conan O'Brien. At least I can, you know, laugh before I die or something, you know, and feel better.
I'm guessing in this scenario, we're thinking even like people that will logically most likely be dead by the time we're about to die, right? Because like, hopefully this is a situation where we're old, and then Conan O'Brien is far gone. But okay,
then he's going to be long gone.
Yeah, we could. I mean,
I thought it was like I'm like terminally ill and dying.
Okay,
Make a wish, kind of dying.
like the type of dying where you get to make a wish. Yeah, not a good one.
Yeah, exactly. You know. When you see Johnny Depp as a pirate, that's a bad news. Johnny Depp as Captain Sparrow, that's bad news for you.
You start hearing dun 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 dun.
Yeah, you're like, oh fuck, I'm not long for this world yet.
Oh fuck, dude! The other day we actually had a podcast where we talked about like weird kids that want to meet like Bob Dylan and shit, and they're 7, and we were thinking like. I said something like that too. I'm like, I hope I'm not in a position where I get to make a wish. But if I was, like, I would choose some shit like Katy Perry or like
Katy Perry. I mean, out of everyone,
that's a weird choice.
I was not expecting.
Okay, more like
Why Katy Perry?
Nah, I don't know. I just said like something like commercial, but no, for me it would be more like
Margot Robbie.
Well, Margot Robbie's still commercial, but I mean, you couldn't go wrong with Margot Robbie.
If I'm dying, I would like to see that face in person.
Margot?
Yeah. Maybe my dying wish is like, hey, Margot, can we recreate that scene from Wolf of Wall Street? And then she'll say yes because I'm dying.
Because it's a make-a-wish. She's like, fuck, I already committed.
And she can't say no to anything. So, yeah.
Imagine like the news story.
Yeah.
Like Margot Robbie denied the last wishes of a dying kid. He's passed away today in complete sadness. No, you know which one is like for me, like now that I remember, and maybe you guys have one of these persons, like this actress from back in the day, which now is probably ancient. Because my example that I'm going to give, like this person is like a grandma now.
I already have one lined up. I already have one.
Okay.
Already. Yeah.
Melissa Tomei. is for me. She was in My Cousin Vinny, and for the younger crowd, she was the Aunt Aunt May from Spider-Man with Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Which
she's
still
super sexy. Yeah.
Is that a good choice for the old school actress? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Tiago, you got.
I think she'll go faster than what we think. She's 60 almost.
What do you mean, motherfucker? Dude, you got chills. We might have her on the pod.
Yeah. Hi, Marisa.
But do you agree?
It's a good choice. It's a weird choice, but a good choice.
A weird one, really.
Well, it's not something you would think about, right away. It sounds like you've thought about this before because you had her.
Yeah. I've always thought about it. Like I always have that thing where, like, okay, if it's somebody that, like I always think about it.
You know what we should do? Maybe we should send her an email saying, Kiko is in his last stages, even though it's not true. Would you be willing to meet this person before he passes tragically?
Like fake the Make-A-Wish?
Fake the Make-A-Wish, but you're a 35-year-old man.
She comes to your house, everything looks perfect. You're just sitting in a chair playing video.
You have the YouTube monitor just with the beep, beep, beep.
She can see your work schedule, like everything's fine. Like she's like, "What's happening? What do you have?" And he's like, "Oh, I have a very rare disease."
Yeah.
A very rare disease.
My pants.
Ever since I saw you with My Cousin Vinny, I had this disease in my mind. All right, Tiago. So which one is yours? You said you had one, right?
I mean, I have one. I have one for the old school as well. Although she did a lot of plastics now, and she's not as good, I think. But it's Ellen Mirren. She was in Fast and Furious actually as well.
Ellen Mirren.
Yes.
Ellen Mirren, she's like 700 years old. Dude.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, but she's still sexy. She's still sexy. I'm sorry. I still think
she's
she's sexy.
78.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll do it.
But
I'll take the bullet.
But is this like Helen Mirren? No, I mean maybe there's a movie like in the 50s. Like, is there a movie that you remember that you were like, damn?
No. I mean, if you put Ellen Mirren when she was young, for example.
Okay, Ellen Mirren.
That was enough for me because I only met Ellen Mirren when she was already old.
Okay. So it's not like oh, I remember her from a time. No, it's like you've always liked her seniority. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, all her young pictures are in black and white anyway. so I can't really find
for the old school people,
No, but I think that's a good one because people hearing people that hear our podcast, a lot of them are sort of in our age group. Some of the younger ones, although the younger ones are mostly spreading the seeds, getting venereal diseases, and then there's another target market we have, which is the people that are in this aging homes, like the senior centers. Because they have a lot of time, and so they just watch the podcast. So for them, it's like, oh, damn, Helen Mirren. For them, that's like on par. You know?
Yes.
So great choice. Actually, I love that choice because it changes the dynamic. Chef Maurice.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking young pictures of Helen Mirren, and I wouldn't disagree with his choice. Now,
exactly. I mean, I'm going to say she's still sexy for 70 years old. Without the plastics, and all that. Now she has her whole face is like an alien or something. It's weird. Yeah.
She was beautiful.
I don't have a very good answer like yours, Tiago, and yours, Kiko, but I would go Zendaya. I would go younger generation.
Oh no, Zendaya! No, she's
but you don't have.
I'll pass.
Are you serious, Chef Marie? That's like disappointing. That's like some TikTok answer. What the fuck is that?
I mean,
I thought you were going to say someone like Anna Darmus or something like that. No.
Yeah, like give me some darks like back in the days. Yeah. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I mean, why not? It's a good answer.
Zendaya. I thought that was a guy. Sorry. Give me a real answer from back in the day, the 2000s.
I have to think about this.
You have
man.
Brittany Murphy from back in the day.
No, Carmen
and she's
Electra,
dead. So
maybe.
it's Carmen Electra. Okay.
Carmen Electra, yeah.
Carmen Electra is. I mean, but when we were young, when we were kids, everybody was like, "Oh my God, Carmen Electra." So it's a
cheap choice.
It's a cheap choice. Yeah, I would have to do my little research while you guys talk, and I'll come back with a better answer.
Okay, you know which one is?
I think. Sorry, I remember one now, just popping in my mind. But Cameron Diaz in the '90s, which was top.
In The Mask.
The peak Cameron Diaz in The Mask, exactly.
Cameron Diaz
dress,
in The Mask is probably the
that's Cameron Diaz here in The Mask, and then she's here now.
Every time
she's
I see her now,
woman, but in The Mask.
Every time I see her now, I think of her in The Mask, and I'm like, fuck. Like it all went, like it all. No, but not even now that she's.
If I was older.
No, like I'm not saying that because of the age, because that affects everyone. But even right after The Mask, I feel like she lost something, and she went too skinny or some shit. Like something weird happened with her, and she never peaked like that. But one that has kept up to now, I mean, she has to have plastic, but it's very like you don't notice. I think she's done it well. Jennifer Aniston, just top of the line, class.
She definitely did plastics, yes, but she's still good.
Yeah, but it's not like Courtney Cox that looks like The Arrival and shit.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about dying wish, meeting the person, not rating someone's plastic surgery.
Yeah.
I mean,
plastic surgery not good.
Yeah.
No,
well,
it's not good.
If it's overdid, then it's not good. Salma Hayek.
Salma, she's always been hot.
Banging still.
Since she was young until now, she still is.
I recently saw a picture of her young, like when she did the Zorro, and I had forgotten. I was like, oh my God, like it was insane. She's Mexican. She's Mexican descent. All right. Well, I mean, this is a millennial podcast at this stage. We're talking about, the lady from The Mummy Returns and shit. She was Venezuelan, actually. Very cute. Brendan Fraser was a stud back in the day. The Whale, not so good, but
the movie or the look?
Both. Right after The Whale, I ordered 2 pepperoni pizzas. It was quite sad.
Oof.
Yeah, nice.
All right, well, tell us what you guys think of the Make-A-Wish. What would you wish, if you had a wish? And we really hope that you don't have to have a wish. But if you did, which one would it be? I mean, maybe we're thinking here like girls just because we're being super patriarchy. But maybe they're like, look, I would like to meet Albert Einstein. Maybe he could like teach me some of the formulas right before I go. Or, like a famous
what I want before
singer.
I die, math.
Yeah, math. Or like a nice singer, or like Pavarotti, some shit like that, Maybe that's where people's minds are going. So it's all valid. Once again, Tiago, thank you for joining us on the Broski Doodles podcast. Chef Maurice, New York Yankees. I think they're in the last place, but keep it real. And keep it Gucci. Peace.
Keep it Gucci.
Bye.
Keep it Gucci.